also going to share my screen just initially, and then I'll let Paul take over and share his screen once he's presenting to us. So welcome to tonight's summer term session for computing leads, and I've just been asked to make a quick check with you, everyone tonight who's attending, that you're okay to have your attendance marked through Teach Computing. It just enables them to keep a record of their CPD. So if you think, oh well, I don't want my details to be recorded, then either put it in the chat or just drop me an email and I'll let them know. But it's just for their own GDPR accountability, that's all. But I don't think it will be a problem for anyone. Okay, so that's just a little note. If you have any objections to those details being recorded, then please let me know. So tonight we've got a few different things. We've got Paul from Newstead Wood. I'll let him introduce himself. He's listed as a computer science lead. I'm sure, Paul, you can tell us a little bit about your role and what you do. He's going to take us through programming sequence for years 1 and 2. And the pedagogical help available from NCCE. And he's also going to talk about his primary certificate from the British Computing Society. We're going to have a quick look. I've got Emma on the call actually from High Hazels, but we've been talking about some CPD input for them about vocabulary and unplugged activities. So we'll have a quick look at some work I'm doing around that, which will be useful for you more generally. And then hopefully 1 or 2 people have got bits and pieces they can share. And we've got just a few quick updates for online safety. And I'm not sure if anyone on this call is a Purple Mash user, but we've had a request from a researcher who's looking into that. And I'll just mention that briefly at the end, and then take any questions and also any ideas for the next session. We've got a few, but it's obviously we want it to be as practical and as useful for you as possible. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Paul. Paul, welcome. We're really pleased to see you. You're the real expert in the room in terms of your knowledge of computing and this particular curriculum. We call it Teach Computing. I know you refer to it as the NCCE one, but it's all the same.
Dan, can I just interrupt for 1 second? We're having a little technical problem here. I need to log on to another computer. So if I disappear for about a minute, and then I'll log on to another computer and then rejoin.
Yeah, no problem, Paul. I'll go on with a few bits that I've got in the meantime, and then we'll switch back to Paul for his input.
Cheers, thanks.
Okay. So one of the things that's been kind of interesting me, and I know Emma at High Hazels, we talked about this as well, is just looking at the progression you get in programming. And obviously this is Teach Computing, but fundamentally these computer schemes are just means to an end. They're a means to delivering the national curriculum outcomes, at the end of Key Stage 1 and at the end of Key Stage 2. So they're just routes to the same thing. So whether you use Switched On Computing, Purple Mash, some other scheme, or this one, which is Teach Computing, they'll all have a progression in their programming. And what's quite interesting is to have a look at how that works. How many units of programming you do in computing, because we know computing is a lot more than programming. But the way Teach Computing do it, I think, is quite well balanced. There's probably a third of the units are to do with programming, and the rest are to do with, computing as a science or as networking, data and information, and creating media, and some of the online safety things as well. So it's quite interesting just to see how that progresses. And whilst we're doing that, what Teach Computing do is obviously give you a lesson plan for every lesson, and those programming units. There's 12 of them in the scheme. So there's 12 lesson plans. Sorry, there's 12 units, each has 6 lessons. So that's 72 lesson plans available for you to do with programming. And in each lesson plan, they put out or they write down the vocabulary used in the lesson. So what I've done is looked at all 72 of those lessons, and each time a new vocabulary is introduced, I've made a note of it. And it's quite interesting to see that in year 1 we get these kind of words: instruction, algorithm, debug, sprite, design. And then year 2 we get another set of words which kind of shows a progression in itself, really: sequence, order, prediction, decomposition, you know, some of this very computer science specific vocabulary, and so on. We get into coding, events, logic, and then in year 4 procedures, which are, you know, code snippets that can be reused. We get our first loop using repeat, and then we have forever loops and count controlled loops. And then in year 5 we start getting selection. That's when we get the if then statements, and we get conditional statements, you know, like if then and else. We introduce the microcontroller, which in this scheme is called the crumble, and the various components you have with it. And then in year 6 the variable is introduced. They switch to a microbit for their kind of physical computing, and then an if then else statement for sensing, and so on. So you can see here how you can kind of get a feeling for the progression just by looking at the vocabulary. And what we're going to do at High Hazels is focus a little bit on the vocabulary and think about how we can kind of develop the understanding of that vocabulary through some unplugged activities as well as computer-based activities. And I'll share this afterwards in terms of the slides and the links therein. You know, all the vocabulary in programming I've put into a Word document, so that you know, you can quickly see, without having to open up 72 lesson plans like I did, all of the vocabulary to do with programming. And that can be quite a useful check for you as a computer lead in your own school, just to have a, you know, well, in year 2 they should be looking at, you know, these kind of terms, and you can kind of just check how that's going, check people understand the vocabulary, and can the children use it and apply it in new situations. So hopefully that's useful. It's something I'm working on for High Hazels, and any resources that are produced for that I'll make available on the next meeting, which is at the end of, well, 14th of July we've got down. I also wanted just to tell you about some YouTube channel updates. We have a United Learning ICT, as it's called, probably needs updating, but that's what it's historically been called. We have a channel which we've largely used for the Office 365 support, in particular, you know, how to use forms and how to use Teams and all the rest of it. But we've also got a playlist for physical, well, for computing. The 4 tutorials that I've done so far are to do with physical computing, because that was a particular need for one school I was working with. The reason for sharing this is, A, so you can use it, hopefully it will be useful for you, and secondly, that if you've got any requests for tutorials, etc., do drop us a line. I can't promise when we can do them, but if there are some things to do with computing that you'd like some help with, some tutorials, some explainer videos, do let us know. Or if you've got some, you know, you might have produced something that would be really useful to put on this channel. Anyway, I can see Paul has now rejoined, and not only can we hear him, we can see him as well, which is fantastic. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Paul, are you happy just to introduce yourself and then share your content that we've got lined up for tonight?
Yeah, that's no problem. we had a little technical problem at the drive where all of the information on the NCCE wasn't working, so I had to log in a different way to get to it, and but we got there in the end. So yeah, my name is Paul Hunt. I'm the computing lead for United Learning and also the computing hub. We're a national computing hub here at Newstead Wood, and we as the computing hub, we provide a lot, all the CPD training and everything for most schools in United Learning, and also we look at primary and secondary computing. I will have to confess that I'm more of a secondary computing expert than the primary, but I can take you through all of the primary programming and CPD and everything that we provide. We've been, we are the computing hub for the south of England, basically, so southeast London, Surrey and West Sussex is our official area, but we can go anywhere, we expand everywhere. We provide people called subject matter experts who will come in and help you if you've never given or delivered computer science before. They will be able to come in and help you set up the course and provide you with all the training and necessary work that you need. They will also help you put the curriculum together, and they'll work with you as a sort of consultant, if you like. It's all free of charge. This is all paid for by STEM. So anything that I go through today that you think, oh, that sounds interesting or anything, is available for everybody, and it's all free of charge. In fact, not just free of charge, we give bursaries as well, so we will pay you to do some of what I'm about to talk to you about. Now, when this was set up, Dan said that people would be interested in how programming is sequenced in the curriculum. But before I go through any of that, I'll just explain what the curriculum as we use it. The curriculum that we provide or use is from the NCCE. It's the National Centre for Computing Education. And this organisation has produced the complete curriculum for all key stages, key stage 1, key stage 2, 3, 4 and 5. We've now got, so there's, and within that there is the complete curriculum with all lesson plans, all schemes of work, and all the resources that you need to deliver the computer science curriculum at whatever level you want to. This is all available on for free again on the NCCE website, which is teachcomputing.org. You don't have to commit to anything. You don't have to be part of it or anything like that. All you have to do is log on to their website, and everything is available and downloadable there. Right, I will share my screen now, and I'll just show you some of the bits that are available and how you might be able to use them. So just 1 moment. Science programming. I think I've got lots of things on here that right. Can you see that? Implementing the Teach Computing curriculum? Is that
not come through yet?
Hang on then, let's have a look. I'm working on a computer I'm not used to here.
Able to share your screen. Have you got the share screen button on Teams?
I've got the share tray has come up. Where's the share button?
It's a little picture of a window with an arrow in it. It's a
yeah,
share.
I've got that, and then it brings up a.
Yeah, then choose the screen. I don't know if you've got dual screen or just the one screen that you're sharing.
I've got desktop window. Try that. See if that works. Entire screen. That sounds good. Let's try that. You're probably going to see yourselves on this.
We will, but then you can minimize. Yeah, we've got you now. So now you can minimize the Teams window and just share the content that you want us to see.
Right, okay, let's do that. Minimize that. Okay. Right, so you should be seeing, hopefully, the
we are, Paul.
The implementing the Teach Computing curriculum. Now, this series of slides, this series of information actually comes from one of the courses that we run. So you can have somebody come in, or you can just log on to this and do this course, and it will take you through everything, and you will get paid to look at this. We'll give you a bursary, which I'll talk about later on. But this outlines all of the curriculum. So you can see here that it's a curriculum that's designed all the way up to year 6 in this case. And this poster is also available for you to download. It's editable as well. So if you want to change anything on this, then you can. But it gives you an idea of a scheme of work that you can use. Okay, so this is the curriculum poster that they've made. I use this when we were recently Ofsteded, and I used this to show Ofsted what we've done in our schemes of work, and they loved this, and we got an outstanding for it. So there you go. If you want to use any of this, like I say, it's all there. It's all free. Now, this course will take you through the whole of the primary curriculum, taking through all the different strands and how they all link together at the different year points. So we, I'd like to say there, so we've got from year 1 up to year 6, how each different aspect of the curriculum works and what is required in each of them. Now, this really takes you through what is expected and how you could put it all together. It does get a little confusing with these little maps that they've drawn in there, but the bit that you're probably more interested in is the programming, and it takes you through all of that as well. Now, I'm going very fast through all of this, but if you wanted to sort of see this in more detail, like I say, this is all available on the Teach Computing website and as a course, so you could do this in greater depth and greater detail. I said at the beginning we'd look at the programming and how it works at all the different key stages. This is we look at mainly at key stage 2 in this, but this is key stage 1 and key stage 2. And this is how the programming structure works. So key stage 1, we're mainly looking at sequence. And then we introduce repetition or iteration, if we should use the correct terms. At key stage 2 again, we've got selection and then variables. These are not discrete topics. You know, once you've got sequence, you add iteration to it, and then you add selection to it, and you add variables. So as you go through the year, the key stages, it gets more complex until you're at the end of key stage 2, where you can produce full programs. Now, key stage 1, we tend to use the BBots or programming associated with the little robots that you can use. But the idea is that you move mainly into Scratch for key stage 2. And using Scratch, then you can go through all of the programming constructs that are needed then when the children move on to key stage 3, the secondary stage. So we start with sequence, which is basically a list of instructions. So the algorithms really, if we're introducing the terminology at that point. And outputs, so like if you're using the robots, then obviously getting the robot to do something, move around a track, or some schools have robots that pick things up and do things like that. So we're looking for output, we're looking for different types of output. So we might have sound output, text output, graphical output, and then moving into using programming like Scratch, where you'll be controlling sprites, and we can change the costumes and location, size, color, move them around, all sorts of things. So that's the basic sort of layout of how the programming sequence works throughout the key stages. There is more detail in what's expected at each level, but as I say, there we go, a bit more detail for you, looking at the progression. But for each of these stages, the NCCE have a complete set of resources. So every lesson with all resources, every lesson plan, the whole scheme of work is all there, and all the resources that you need for that. So all the PowerPoints and worksheets, if you like worksheets, all that sort of thing are there if you want them. Okay, so I would encourage you to look at the NCCE. In fact, I'll jump on there now.
Yeah, I think Paul, we've done a lot more than look. I mean, a lot of the schools are using it. In fact, you know, the primary curriculum is you know, has adapted it basically, or adopted it. So
yeah.
most of the schools on here will be familiar with it. Maybe not all, but it's
Excellent.
certainly something that's
okay, that's great. So what I'd say is the next step, if you've looked at it and using it, adapted it, you may want to have either some training in different areas of it, because I know a lot of teachers have kind of been thrown into computer science and not really had any training or support with it. And this is again where the NCCE can come in. And we have lots of training that's available. And if you go onto this website, the Teach Computing website, you can just search through the courses that you might want to do. But I did mention something about the primary certificate, which is in here. Now, the primary certificate will give you around 20 hours of CPD, and it will give you everything you need to be able to teach the primary curriculum. And this is where the BCS comes in. So it's awarded from the British Computer Society, and it's a whole complete little course which gives you everything that you need, okay, to be able to teach it. So if you're feeling a bit lost, don't know what to do, and got no support, this is what this has been designed for, to give you that support and to give you a bit of help. And again, it's free to take, and we will even provide you with a bursary to do this of up to about £800. The £800 is really to cover any your time out of class if you need any to do this, and so you will then end up with a nationally recognised certificate in teaching computer science. And it does go into the pedagogy as well of how to teach it. I don't want to patronize anybody and say that, you know, you don't know how to do any of this. This is, but there are a lot of people out there who this has sort of landed on their desk and they're panicking a bit and don't quite know what to do. So this has been put together by the BCS and the NCCE to help everybody and try and get everyone feeling confident and at home with the primary curriculum. So if anyone's interested in that, you can contact me and I will set up a meeting for you and get the ball rolling on getting you enrolled onto this and getting some help for you.
I think, Paul, at the last meeting, Paula mentioned this and there was some interest, and I think one or two schools are thinking about can they host this and have some other schools attend? Is that a possible format for using this support?
Definitely. In fact, that's another source of income, if you like, because if you volunteer to host the course, we will send in a facilitator who will run it for you, and we then also pay you for the privilege of using your facilities. So we'll pay you for hosting a course. I think it's about £300 or £400, something like that, and it's only one day or maybe 2 days of it, depending on how it's set up. And so the school can get extra money for hosting it.
Do you need minimum numbers for that? Because I can see that working perhaps as a cluster. There could be schools in Manchester who get together to do that, schools in the Sheffield Barnsley area or the Midlands, and I know Avonwood on the south coast of considering it. It's just the practicalities. Do we need to make it external so people outside UL come to it, or can we do it as a UL kind of activity?
We can do it as a UL bespoke course. So if there are a small cluster of schools near to you, you could be the host school and invite them to come along to the course on that day. That works. Minimum numbers are 5. So if you get 5 people, that's the minimum number. The bursary will only apply to 1 teacher per school. So if you've got 5 teachers who all want to do it in your school, only 1 of those teachers will get the bursary, but you can get some more money for hosting it. So there are limitations in that respect, but the minimum number for a course from the NCCC is 5 participants. They can be from the same school or different schools or whatever. It's entirely up to you. But if you do manage to get more schools to join in, then that generates more income as well for United Learning. So CUSTEM will pay for each school that has participated in there as well. So they try to encourage you to do it in small little clusters so that you can train on a wider range.
Yeah, I think that's something each of us can take away. Think about if you'd like to host or you'd like to join with another school. We're probably looking at planning the autumn term now, are we, Paul? Is that the kind of time scale for this?
Yes, but the STEM are going through a bidding process from the government, so they haven't told us exactly how much money is available for all of this for next year. So what they're saying is, if you can get in before the end of the school year and get a course in, then they can guarantee that you'll get the full bursary and all of the money. Next year, they won't guarantee the price because they don't know what it is at the moment until they've had their bid approved from the government.
Yeah, that's useful to know, just in case anybody can act quickly and would like to host a course in, the second half of the term. It could be put together quite quickly then if they act now.
We've got facilitators ready and waiting, and they can they'll come in as soon as we know where and when. They can come in straight away. So, but that that's not essential. It'll still be available next year. I just can't tell you the costings at the moment. So, but that would be great if anyone is interested. Even if it's just 1 school, then just getting the ball rolling is great if we can get some interest in this, and I'm sure people would be interested.
Yeah, I think so. I just think the issue now is CPD calendars for this year are probably pretty crammed, and trying to, it's one of those things that I know schools have difficulty in finding the CPD time sometimes. So if we can plan ahead for next year, knowing that this is an option, I think bursary aside, or the value of it, I think schools, it's really about you know, the opportunity to develop their subject knowledge, isn't it, and confidence in teaching. So I think it would be certainly a good thing for schools to think about and see if they can either host or join with another school, you know, to find a session like that.
Yeah, we send out a sort of regular little sort of newsletter type thing to United Learning Schools, offering all of this. So it might sort of, it goes into the trash of a lot of a lot of people, because you know, the email programs think it's some sort of spam thing. So if you haven't heard anything from us, have a look in your sort of trash thing. You might find something in there. But I'm going to get our admin team to send out another information leaflet to everyone in UL. So you'll get all this information coming to you via an email. Hopefully, well, we've got half term next week, haven't we? So probably the week after that. And so you'll get all of that information. But if you are really interested and you want to have a go at it, if you just send me an email, that's phunt@newsteadwood. I'll put it in the chat as well, in newsteadwood.co.uk. Then that's perfectly okay, and I can take that and I can then start the ball rolling and get back in contact with you, and we can start looking at things in that way. But yeah, we do regularly send out to all UL schools if anyone's interested in any of this area.
Thanks, Paul. Just a question from Alex about clarification. BCS certification, is that one and the same as, you know, what we're talking about? Basically BCS kind of underwrite or overwrite the certificate. Is that their role in this?
Yes, yeah, they've come up with the curriculum, if you like. They've written it, and it's coming through the NCCE to distribute it. And I mean, if you go onto the BCS website, you'll only find secondary certificates and qualifications. So they've done their primary one this way. It's come through the NCCE, but it is backed by them, so it will say it's a BCS.
And fundamentally, there are different routes to get the certification. You can work online using a course there, or you can do the face-to-face to achieve the same kind of level of certification.
Yeah, there are different routes to doing it, but if you do it through the NCCE route, then it all counts on the CPD, and it all counts, you know, towards the final goal. So it's a good, well, we think an easier route to get to the same goal.
Yeah. Okay, does that cover everything that you wanted to say, Paul? Thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry, it was a bit of a rush to get through it all, but
no problem. Shall we stop sharing your screen then? You can see the stop share, and I'll just go back to the main presentation. So thank you very much, Paul, for that. I'll just get my screen back up and underway. So I just want to kind of hand over to the audience, really, just in case there's any questions for Paul, or anything you've got to share on what you're doing in terms of your successes, your challenges, or if you've got any content that we can ask Paul or any of his team that we, you know, kind of queries or things that you'd like some help on for next session. So we're not a large group, so feel free to unmute. I know Dan, we were talking this morning about computing at Bank End and some of the challenges when you're using Chromebooks as opposed to, you know, Windows laptops, and also some of the fact that it's a little bit reliant on the on Google rather than Microsoft. I mean, there are workarounds, but they're some of the challenges that we've had. I don't know if you want to say any more about that, Dan.
Yeah, I've gone through a lot of the things like that. Well, when I taught year 5, I went through and changed it to converted it over and did it through PowerPoint. But it's one of those things you've just got to do a lot of, sort of background work on it. I've recently found it a bit difficult with the year 4 trying to do photo editing, because there's lots of things that you can't get on. Same with the audio editing as well, like Audacity, as Teach Computing recommends to use, and you can't do it with Chromebooks. But so I've got other contacts in other with forums who suggested other programs to use. There are things there, but sometimes it just makes it's a little bit harder to do it because of the not compatible technology aspect.
Yeah, I that is a challenge for all of us. When I know we're using Chromebooks because that's what we've been given en masse, sort of thing. But you know, ideally, your digital strategy may look at a bit of a mix, so you can use some Windows devices. Sometimes the iPad is a really good tool for some of the units, and sometimes the Chromebook's perfectly fine. So yeah, I think we are working our way through some of those issues.
I can, because I kind of have a hotline to STEM, I can put that to them and ask them if they've got any solutions for Chromebooks, because they make all of the resources for the NCCE, so they must have come up with something or had this.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll contact them and see if there's anything.
That's useful. And I think at the end of the day, Dan, you know, sharing, you know, how you've adapted it, you know, for Bank N will help other schools. So, you know, some sort of forum where we can perhaps, you know, upload, you know, different units or whatever, how you've adapted it will be useful. I think we're just coming to that. I know I was helping Silverdale, and the image editing one was quite challenging, trying to do it with whatever you could find free on the internet. So, you know, there are challenges there. So maybe that's something we can have a think about, or maybe Dan at the next meeting. I don't know. We'll firm this up later. But whether you could share perhaps just a few of the workarounds that you found to be second, you know, what you found as a useful alternative, that could be useful. Okay. Let's just finish off with a couple of things tonight. Online safety updates. I've been speaking to Gemma Gwilym, who hosted last time and has been looking at online safety, you know, as a particular focus for her. She mentioned the National Online Safety Centre. We are in the process of getting everybody an account. You can just sign up. I've just logged on and had a look, and you know, that's fine. We're just the free version. You get plenty of stuff, but I think we're looking as a group to as a whole lot, you know, whole group subscription. But you know, you can do all sorts of things there, little certificates. That one I managed to do myself. It can go on my wall next to my 25-meter swimming and my cycle proficiency. So yeah, it's another little certificate that you can print out. Lots of nice guides for parents as well, in a kind of quite a nice sort of you know, design. So you know, tips about online content, you know, keeping your children safe. And I think this will develop more, but there is a lesson, you know, if you want to take children through some of the, you know, online safety things, there's a new lesson there about with a story involved, which you could use as a whole class resource. So keep an eye on the National Online Safety Centre. Lots of good things in there. It really does help you, particularly when you're trying to support parents with guides and guidance on keeping children safe. Kind of related to that, I know Gemma shared last time her most recent parental online safety presentation. I've got another one coming up in after half term, so I've updated it with some of the stuff from Ofcom. They do a regular report on trends on how social media is being used, or you know, what are the latest trends in video sharing platforms. So you know, some new slides in there. Again, when I share this slide deck with you afterwards, then yeah, you're more than welcome to use that and edit it. And, you know, if you've got an online, online safety presentation to do with parents, you're welcome to use this as well. Or if you'd like some external help, either Gemma or myself or any of the educational technology team can help you with that if that's needed. So I'm sharing just some updates there on that. I'm not sure on the call if we've got any Purple Mash users, but we are recording it for everyone as well. So if you do use Purple Mash and you'd like to help with a study about teachers' confidence in delivering computing in primary, there's this Dr. Fiona Aubrey-Smith has been in contact with us saying she's doing this large scale research program, and if you'd like to be involved in the research, it's a 30-minute interview with her just to get a state of the nation with you and where you are with it. But that it does relate to schools that are using Purple Mash. And we're not mandating any particular scheme. It's just that the teacher computing is free and it is very well supported. So that's why we've kind of adopted that as a central scheme. But I know some of you are still kind of using Purple Mash. So if that's you and you'd like to take part in the research, then please drop me a line and let me know. Or add that to the chat if you would, if you're here live and want to get involved. So that's covered all the content I wanted to. Let's just have a look at the chat and see if there are any questions, or if anyone wants to unmute, please do so. Dan says, I like the posters. Is that for the, which posters are those, Dan? National Online Safety, yeah.
Yeah, the one you were telling us about after your cycling proficiency.
Yeah, that's right.
Those I've used ones similar. I think I had to Google them and found ones like warning against Fortnite and all those, and sent those and used those as part of on our school on school Facebook and everything like that. They're quite good, but those ones look nice and exciting. So
they do, and there's a whole range of them. Probably about, I don't know, 10 to 15 different posters you can get. And, you know, I know schools like to put them on their webs. You know, you can do that. You can download them and just put them on your, you know, online safety section of your website or whatever, or send them out, you know, in your newsletter, or a link to them or whatever. So, yeah, they do look good. They're up to date as well. That's the other thing, because, you know, the interfaces and everything changes so often. It's quite hard to, you know, to keep everything up to date, particularly with those guides about parental controls. You know, 6 months later, it all looks different. So thanks for that. Just reading a little bit earlier that Danielle was sharing something CEOP have done. So you may be familiar with CEOP. They also do a really good program called Think You Know, and they've got the dark web explained. Danielle, have you looked at that yourself?
Yes, I was actually, they've changed our ambassador program, but I was actually a CEOP ambassador for 4 or 5 years. And it's slightly grey area at the moment, but no, they've got some really good resources. The Think You Know program, they've got some really good videos to share with children that act out situations that you see online. What I will say is some of the age ranges are slightly questionable in terms of things that they will say are appropriate for 4 or 5-year-olds. It would be very dependent on your school and your intake of children whether you'd want to share them.
Yeah, it is difficult to get that right, isn't it? But yeah, their video material is useful. I've downloaded a couple to use in the presentation that I'm doing after half term, because, you know, having video content to share is very useful, because people kind of do get engaged with that. So if you can break up any presentation or share video content like that, it definitely helps, you know, get the message over. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Danielle. Emma, I see you've got your hand raised. You're going to ask a question or make a
I'm going to ask. I'm going to say thank you to everyone who's contributed, but also to ask a question about the exciting National Online Safety website. So as we spoke about yesterday, it's something that's quite pressing in our school at the moment. So I was going to sign up straight away. If I use my school email address and phone number, that's not going to clash with any kind of register that anybody else is doing, is it?
No, you better do. That's all I've done. You're better sign up as an individual, and there's like different tiers of subscription, but the free one is you get all the posters and you get you can do the certificates and see the videos and what have you. So yeah, that's fine, and it shouldn't affect anything. I'm not sure how it's all going to work. This buying a subscription, it's got delayed or whatever. So what I would say is, yeah, get on there and use the content that you find. It's not too difficult to navigate round, and there's lots of good stuff there, posters in particular. Yeah.
Fabulous. Very much needed, so thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry, we actually have the paid version of National Online Safety. Would you like me to just show you what it looks like for the paid version very quickly?
Yeah, is that the same one we were talking about?
Yeah, so we have the paid version. We paid for it this year, so we upgraded.
Yeah.
So just give me a second. Here we go. So this is you have a hub. They have absolutely everything on here, and in discussions with them, they're very willing to find experts and build information, build resources around the needs of your school. If you like things, they go into your watch list and then you complete them. Everyone gets a certificate automatically at the end. What I really like, as well as the things like the parent courses, you can see what parents have completed them. So if you've got safeguarding issues, you can get parents to complete courses in terms to try. You can add that as an action in their plans. The monthly updates are pretty good. The lesson plans aren't great at the moment. We're discussing with them about how to improve that. The guides are good. They have a lot of health and safety videos in there. The one thing that they didn't really talk to me about much until I had a meeting with them, the admin section is great. So you can just group people and assign CPD to groups of people in a couple of clicks, which is excellent because then you can see overall who's completed what. You can get it to send automatic reminders to people with, one click of a button that actually a deadline is coming up. We have also got the certified school status now as well, and that just means we're engaged with it and parents are engaging with it. But it's pretty good, I have to say. Yeah, and you can add your own CPD onto here, not related to online safety, and assign it to people through this as well.
How does it work with parents, Danielle? Do you have to give them a login, or
you share a link with parents, and that allows them to sign up. You can have any number of parents, but you're limited with numbers in terms of staff. So you can share the link with staff for them to staff email address. You can manually set up staff, or staff, if they sign up and they've got the same end of their email as that you've set up with as a school, then it automatically groups them under your staff account.
Yeah. So you don't have to import a load of parental. I could imagine that would get quite complicated. But you can just give them a link, and it kind of works. Yeah. No, it looks very useful. I can understand why, as a group, we'd be interested in subscribing. You're obviously ahead of the game there, and you've subscribed kind of independently, which shows shows that you're concerned about this, and you want to kind of address the need. So we might look to you perhaps to talk us through it in a bit more detail at some stage, because you've obviously had that kind of experience. So do you want to just stop sharing your screen, and then we'll finish up? Yeah, so thanks for that. So the next meeting we've got down the 14th of July. Now that does seem quite late in the year, and I know the independents will have finished, but it is it's in the calendar, so we will do it. I can't imagine we're going to get loads of people, but I don't know what we'd like to look at. I didn't. Paul's got the date in his diary. I didn't know whether it was worth looking a little bit at the assessments that come with Teach Computing. I'm just thinking at that time of year, what's your pressing thing? Is it assessment? Is it pupil portfolios? It's quite interesting. How do we know what each year's done, and what does the work look like? What evidence do we keep for computing? Those sort of questions might be something. Emma's nodding her head. Paul, is that something that you would feel confident in sharing, and what would you kind of advise, in terms of, okay, we've adopted whether it's Teach Computing or something else, how do we show what we've been doing and the work that the children have done, given that it's digital?
Well, assessment wise, we could definitely go through how the NCCE recommend assessment, and how you can show that. And I haven't really thought about putting together student portfolios or anything like that, but something definitely I can get our subject matter experts to maybe join us on that, and they can take us through what they recommend.
Yeah, because I think it's interesting to have some sort of, at the end of year 4 or wherever it is, you can show this is what they've done very quickly, and I think that helps the next teacher to have confidence that they've covered the things that they should have covered, and so on. So
I mean, we use Notebook in Office and things like that for all the students to make their notes and keep a record of what they've been doing. But I know that's not necessarily available to everybody, or even wanted to be used by everybody. So
no, we certainly everyone's got Class Notebook, but it may not be the vehicle of choice for everyone. But yeah, well, perhaps we'll leave that. If you've got any suggestions, anything you'd like to cover, please drop me a line. I'll talk to Paul in the meantime and ask him to have a little think about assessment, and maybe just a little quick, not a deep dive, but a quick review of what the portfolio type opportunities are. Okay, is there anything else anybody wanted to add? I mean, Alex just mentioned about the Google offering. I think, was it? The Internet Legends. Yeah, I'm not that familiar with it, but there's, when you start looking at the different offerings on online safety, they are very varied, and there's lots of them. There's Internet Matters and Childline and all sorts of different things. So there's a lot of good stuff there. And Dan says we use Floorbooks to gather evidence. Well, perhaps we'll talk a little bit more about that at the next session. Okay, well, thanks everyone for your attendance tonight. Thank you, Paul, very much. I think the key takeaways are, look, if you're interested in this CPD as a school, do have a think about it, and maybe work with your clusters of people you probably know. I can see High Hazels and Bank End probably work together on things. It could be something to look at. There's a Midlands cluster, there's a Southern cluster we could perhaps have a look at. So have a think about it, and I'll share the recording and the slides and the links afterwards via a general email, and they will also eventually get put up on the hub. So thank you everyone, thanks for attending. If you are on half term next week, which is probably most of you, have a good half term, and we next formally meet on the 14th of July, those that can make it. So thank you everyone. I'll stop the recording.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, bye-bye.
Bye.